Paul and I live in Gibsons, BC, and decided to take a mini vacation to Vancouver Island. So we headed up Highway 101 to Earls Cove to catch our first of 2 ferries that day. We're actually having to wait one more sailing because we tried to make the 10:35. We were 45 minutes early, but we didn't make it on. There was too many vehicles. So we're doing the 12:55. And away the ferry goes, rounding Nelson Island without us on it. While we were waiting for the next sailing, we shared a very good pizza at the Cove. I also heard from Instagram followers that the food truck has delicious food. The ferry is back, woohoo! It'll be our turn once all the Powell River traffic has a chance to unload. This ferry takes us from Earls Cove on the lower Sunshine Coast to Sultry Bay and Powell River on the upper Sunshine Coast. We're excited to be on the ferry and moving along. It's a gorgeous day with blue sky and blue ocean and just a few clouds. There are fires in other parts of the province, but we are lucky to not have fires or smoke here at the moment.
We got a really good spot on the ferry. There's a little ramp that we're sitting on for extra parking, and we're kind of just at the apex of it. So we've got like this just about 180-degree view. It's kind of like we're on the bridge of the ship right now. It's pretty nice. If there's whales, we're going to see them up here.
This is a 50-minute sailing, so we'll get to see lots of coastline on our trip. We catch a distant glimpse of Harmony Falls, a beautiful tall waterfall coming from Frail Lake. We also pass a fish farm. It's a windy sailing for us and other vessels on the Jervis Inlet. No whale sighting on this ferry, maybe the next one. Nearing Sultry Bay, we see lots of beach on both sides of the ferry terminal thanks to the current low tide. Soon we'll be off the ferry and then a 25-minute drive will bring us to Powell River.
We're in Powell River. We've got a couple hours to kill before we catch the ferry across to the island. And we've only been to Powell River, I think 2 or 3 times, once for a job and another time kind of just passing through. And so we're exploring a little bit to see what's what, and we're in the old town part of Powell River right now. So the mill is at one end, and then I think this is kind of the old original town site with older character buildings.
And now we are at Willingdon Beach in Powell River. We are doing a little bit of lazy sightseeing, just hanging around the waterfront at this park. There's lots of beach here too, with the low tide, of course. We sat on a bench under a tree in the shade just to kind of have a snack and hang out and look at the ocean. And then we were kind of feeling something on our back, and it was these green worms. So they must have been falling off the tree onto us. So I had 2 worms on my back and Paul did too. So we're like, we moved away from there. Gross. Willingdon Beach is very scenic with lots of beachfront. There are many little walking paths, including a rock pier path out to the seaside. The park has a beach volleyball court, splash park, and various play areas. Next, we checked in at the Westview Ferry Terminal and decided to do some sightseeing while the ferry comes in from Comox. It won't be long before it's our turn to board. We were glad to have a reservation, as that meant we didn't have to wait in line for hours. But even then, unloading and loading the ferry takes a while.
Pretty warm right now. It feels like it's the high 20s.
It is hot in the car. The Salish Orca is a newer vessel and new to this route as of May 2017. It operates on either liquefied natural gas or ultra-low sulfur marine diesel, resulting in lower emissions. This 1.5-hour sailing to Comox is a new experience for us. Out on the Strait of Georgia, we look back and see Powell River along the coast. Off to the side is Texada Island. We see its ferry coming from Blubber Bay and towards Westview in Powell River. And guess what? We happen to see whales on this sailing. We're so excited and keep our cameras facing the water surface. We see some spouting and occasionally the tail above the water too. So awesome! What a great first day to our vacation. We spend a lot of time on the deck enjoying the scenery all around. Well, we're nearing the Little River Ferry Terminal in Comox. Comox also has an airport, as is apparent by this plane preparing to land. Once off the ferry, we'll be driving 1.5 hours to our hotel in Ladysmith. Fast forward to the next morning, Paul is standing in front of an old steam engine. We're at Ladysmith in BC here, and we're checking out Transfer Beach Park. This park has a lot of options for hanging out and having family fun time. A great spot with a splash park and a play park for the kids, and some beach area too. There's a kayak rental spot, as well as lots of sightseeing spots that let you watch the activities on the water. There's also an amphitheater that I'm sure gets filled with wonderful live events for people to enjoy. Leaving the park, there's a culvert that creates a path under Highway 1, taking us from the park back into the residential and commercial part of Ladysmith. Yes, we did stop at the Old Town Bakery for delicious treats that didn't last long enough to make this video. And now, we're in Nanaimo. And we're just walking around the waterfront. There's a great walking path along the waterfront. You can go for quite a ways. Oh, there's a float plane taking off. There are beautiful flowers along a path that lead to Mafio Sutton Park. That evening, and just outside of Ladysmith, we found a beach access and flew the drone for a little exploration from a higher perspective. There are quite a few cargo ships in the channel. The evening light is setting fast. Nice, good landing.
Thank you.
We saw many rabbits throughout our time in Ladysmith. The next day, we set out to see the new tourist attraction in the area, the Malahat Skywalk. It's a tree walk followed by a spiral ramp that takes you up within an open structure to a height of 10 stories. There are land and water views of the surrounding areas, including sights far in the distance. I'm just showing you some quick glimpses here because we did do a video just on the Malahat Skywalk alone. There's a link up in the corner and also in the description for you to watch that video tour. The next day, we stopped at Coombs and the Old Country Market to see the famous goats on the roof. The parking was full and there were crowds of people, so we watched the goats on the roof from across the road and then continued on our way. Yep, we are those kinds of tourists. We then did the quickest of a stop at Qualicum Beach before following the Island Highway 19A back towards Comox and to the ferry terminal. I guess I have some kind of compulsion to taking ferry footage. There are some beach areas on both sides of the ferry terminal. This was during low tide, so wide, long beaches were visible. We sailed back to Powell River on a mid-afternoon sailing. We had beautiful 360-degree views, which included the beautiful blue Strait of Georgia and the land masses and islands on the BC mainland. On the way back, I got a better look at all the limestone mining sites on Texada Island. Mining is still operational on Texada Island, but much less since the 1950s. Population also decreased since then, and the island is now more of a cottage and camping destination with its warm waters and scenic beaches. That's what Wikipedia tells me anyway. Nearing Powell River, the ferry's big front hatch lifts and opens. We're near the front and find ourselves off the ferry in no time. And before you know it, we are off one ferry and in line for the next one. To our surprise, we made the next sailing from Sultry Bay to Earls Cove. We had expected the timing to be off and to have to wait a couple hours at Saltram Bay, but instead we are on the ferry within 15 minutes. Woohoo, lucky us. This means lots of daylight to enjoy this sailing, and we'll be back home in Gibsons a couple hours earlier than expected. And there you have it. You've seen and heard the Coles Notes of our little Sunshine Coast to Vancouver Island holiday. Thanks for sticking to the end. If you're wondering, it was a vacation package Paul booked with BC Ferries, which included the ferry sailings and a 3-night stay at a hotel. It all worked out very good. Thanks for watching.